The transport ship's doors opened with a loud hiss. Maya Torres stepped onto the metal platform of Kepler Station, carrying only a small bag with her few belongings. The air smelled different here, filled with the scent of alien technology and recycled atmosphere. She had traveled for 3 weeks to reach this place, the most important military academy in the galaxy. Around her, the station buzzed with activity. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved through the corridors. Some walked on 2 legs like humans, while others crawled on multiple limbs or floated through the air. Maya had studied about these species during her journey, but seeing them in person was still amazing. The Galactic Defense Academy was housed in the center of the station. Maya followed the signs, walking past shops and restaurants that served food she could not even recognize. Other beings stared at her as she passed. Humans were rare in this part of space, and most aliens had never seen one before. Maya reached the academy's main entrance. The building was huge, made of some kind of blue metal that seemed to glow in the artificial light. 2 guards stood at the door. They were Vraxians, the most powerful warrior race in the galaxy. Each one stood nearly 9 feet tall, with 4 muscular arms and skin that looked like gray stone. Their eyes followed Maya as she approached. "I am Lieutenant Maya Torres from Earth," she said, showing her identification card. "I am here to join the academy." One guard looked at the card, then at Maya, then back at the card again. He seemed confused. "You are the human recruit?" he asked in a deep voice. "Yes, sir." The guards looked at each other and started laughing. "This is what Earth sends to our academy?" the first guard said. "She looks like she would break if I touched her." Maya said nothing. She had expected this reaction. Humans were much smaller and weaker than most alien species. But she knew that size was not everything in combat. The guards let her pass, still chuckling to themselves. Maya walked into the academy's main hall. The ceiling was so high she could barely see it. Hundreds of alien cadets moved through the space, all wearing the same blue uniforms. Maya felt very small among them. "Another weakling arrives," a voice said behind her. Maya turned around to see a group of Zephyrian cadets. They looked like giant insects with 6 legs and sharp claws. Their leader, a female with bright green skin, looked down at Maya with disgust. "I heard they were sending a human," the Zephyrian said, "but I thought it would be bigger. How did your species even survive long enough to reach space?" More cadets gathered around to look at Maya. There were Archeons, beings made of living crystal who sparkled in the light. There were Kelthari, who looked like large cats walking on 2 legs. All of them seemed amused by the small human standing before them. "Maybe she is here to cook for us," one Archeon said, its voice sounding like breaking glass. "Humans are good for servant work, I hear." Maya kept her face calm, but inside she was getting angry. She had not come all this way to be treated like a joke. She had been the best fighter on Earth, winning championships in 3 different martial arts, but these aliens only saw her size, not her skill. "Attention, cadets!" A loud voice boomed across the hall. Everyone stopped talking and turned toward the front of the room. A massive Vraxian walked onto a raised platform. He was even bigger than the guards, with scars covering his arms and face. His uniform showed the rank of general. This was General Kethvar, the commander of the academy. "I see we have many new recruits today," the general said, his voice carrying easily across the huge room. "You are here because your species believes you have what it takes to become galactic defenders. Most of you are wrong." The general's eyes scanned the crowd until they found Maya. A slow smile spread across his face. "Ah, yes. The human." He pointed one of his 4 arms at her. "Come forward, small one." Maya walked to the front of the group. She could feel hundreds of eyes watching her every step. When she reached the platform, she had to look way up to see the general's face. "So this is what Earth sends us, General," Kethvar said, walking around Maya like she was an interesting object. "Tell me, human, what makes you think you belong here?" "I passed all the tests, sir," Maya replied. "My scores qualified me for admission." The general laughed, a sound like rocks falling down a mountain. "Tests, numbers on a screen. Those mean nothing here. This academy is about real strength, real power. Look around you. Maya looked at the other cadets. They were all bigger than her, stronger than her, faster than her in most cases. Every being here could break you in half without thinking about it, the general continued. The Vraxians are the strongest warriors in the galaxy. The Zephyrians have reflexes faster than your eyes can follow. The Archeons never tire and feel no pain. What do humans have? Maya thought about her answer carefully. We adapt, sir. We learn. We find ways to win even when we should lose. Pretty words, the general said. But words do not win battles. Strength wins battles. Speed wins battles. Power wins battles. He leaned down until his face was close to Maya's. Humans have none of these things. The general stood back up and addressed the crowd again. Let this human serve as a lesson to all of you. The galaxy is dangerous, only the strong survive, the weak. He looked down at Maya again. The weak get eaten. More laughter filled the hall. Maya felt her face get hot with embarrassment and anger, but she did not let it show. She had dealt with bullies before. The key was to stay calm and wait for the right moment. Training begins tomorrow at dawn, General Kethvar announced. Do not be late. Those who cannot keep up will be sent home in shame. As the crowd began to break up, Maya heard whispers and comments from the other cadets. Poor little human. She will be gone in a week. I almost feel sorry for her. Maya picked up her bag and followed the signs to the dormitory section. Her room was small but clean, with a window that looked out into space. She could see Earth's sun in the distance, just one tiny point of light among millions. She unpacked her few belongings and sat on the narrow bed. Tomorrow would be her first day of real training. She knew it would be hard. She knew the other cadets would try to make her fail. But Maya had not come this far to give up now. She thought about her training back on Earth, all the hours spent learning to fight, to move, to think like a warrior. Her instructors had taught her that the strongest opponent was not always the biggest one. They had taught her to use her mind as much as her body. The general thought humans were weak. The other cadets thought she was a joke. Tomorrow Maya would begin to show them all just how wrong they were. The alarm woke Maya before dawn. She dressed quickly in her new training uniform and made her way to the academy's main training ground. The huge space was filled with obstacle courses, combat rings, and exercise equipment designed for different alien species. Other cadets were already gathering in formation. Maya found a spot at the back of the group, trying not to draw attention to herself. She noticed that the aliens were naturally grouping by species, keeping away from others who looked different from them. General Kethvar arrived exactly at dawn, followed by several other instructors. Welcome to your first day of real training, he announced. Today we will see who belongs here and who should go home to their mothers. The general pointed to a massive obstacle course that stretched across half the training ground. This is the gauntlet. Every cadet must complete it in under 10 minutes to continue in the program. Those who fail will pack their bags today. Maya studied the course. It had walls to climb, ropes to swing across, heavy objects to move, and narrow beams to balance on. Everything was built for beings much larger and stronger than humans. Vraxians first, the general called out. 5 Vraxian cadets stepped forward. Maya watched as they powered through the course with ease. Their forearms let them climb walls faster than should be possible. Their massive strength made moving the heavy objects look simple. The fastest one finished in just over 6 minutes. Excellent, General Kethvar said, smiling with pride. This is how real warriors perform. The Zephyrians went next. Their 6 legs and quick reflexes helped them dance across the balance beams without slowing down. They swung from rope to rope like they were flying. Most finished in 7 minutes or less. The Archeons moved more slowly but never seemed to tire. Their crystal bodies were nearly indestructible, so they simply walked through obstacles that would hurt other species. They finished in 8 to 9 minutes. Several other species took their turns. Each group had natural advantages that helped them complete the course. Maya noticed that the instructors smiled and nodded when the alien cadets did well. Human, General Kethvar called out. Your turn. Maya walked to the starting line. She could feel every eye in the training ground watching her. Some cadets were already placing bets on how quickly she would fail. 10 minutes, the general said, holding up a timer. Begin. Maya started running toward the first obstacle, a 15-foot wall. The other species had simply grabbed the top and pulled themselves up with their superior strength. Maya did not have that option. Instead, she looked for a different path. She noticed that the wall had small gaps between the metal plates. Maya used these like handholds, climbing up the wall like a rock climber. It took longer than the direct approach, but she made it to the top. The next obstacle was a series of heavy blocks that needed to be moved to create a path. The Vraxians had simply picked them up and thrown them aside. Maya could barely lift one block, let alone throw it. She studied the problem for a moment, then began pushing the blocks instead of lifting them. By using leverage and finding the right angles, she could move them with much less force. She created a zigzag path through the obstacle instead of a straight line. 5 minutes remaining, General Kethvar announced. He sounded disappointed that Maya was still in the course. Maya reached the rope section. Here, cadets had to swing across a wide pit using ropes hanging from the ceiling. The stronger species had grabbed the ropes and swung across in powerful arcs. Maya was not heavy enough to make the ropes swing properly. She looked up and noticed that the ropes were attached to a track system that let them slide along the ceiling. Instead of swinging, Maya climbed up a rope and used her hands to pull herself along the track to the other side. It was slower, but it worked. The balance beam section came next. These narrow metal bars were 30 feet long and 40 feet off the ground. Most cadets had simply run across them using their natural balance and reflexes. Maya took a different approach. She noticed that there were support cables running under the beams. Maya grabbed onto these cables and used them like monkey bars, swinging from hand to hand underneath the beams instead of walking on top of them. Her gymnastics training from Earth helped her move quickly through this section. 2 minutes, the general called out. His voice sounded less confident now. The final obstacle was a maze of moving barriers. Heavy metal walls swung back and forth in a complex pattern. The timing had to be perfect to get through without being crushed. Maya watched the pattern for several seconds. Counting the rhythm. She sprinted into the maze, ducking and weaving between the moving walls. Her small size was actually an advantage here, letting her slip through gaps that would have caught larger beings. She rolled under one wall just as it swung past, then jumped over a low barrier. Maya burst out of the maze and crossed the finish line. She looked up at the timer and saw 9:47. She had made it with 13 seconds to spare. The training ground was completely silent. No one moved or spoke. All the aliens stared at Maya like they could not believe what they had just seen. General Kethvar looked at his timer again, as if checking to make sure it was working correctly. 9 minutes and 47 seconds, he announced finally. His voice sounded confused. Some of the cadets began to whisper among themselves. Maya heard fragments of their conversations. How did she do that? She found ways around everything. I never thought to climb under the beams. Maybe humans are not as weak as we thought. General Kethvar walked over to Maya. His expression was hard to read. You did not complete the course the way it was designed, he said. The rules said to complete it in under 10 minutes, Maya replied, still breathing hard from the effort. You did not say how. The general stared at her for a long moment. Maya met his gaze without backing down. Finally, he nodded. Correct. You pass. The next few days brought more tests and challenges. Maya continued to struggle with anything requiring pure strength or speed, but she excelled in areas that the other cadets found difficult. During a tactical simulation, her squad was given an impossible mission. They had to capture a heavily defended position with limited weapons and no air support. The other species tried direct attacks that failed every time. Maya suggested a different plan. Instead of attacking the strongest part of the defense, they would hit 3 weak points at the same time. They would use distractions and misdirection to confuse the enemy. It was a complex strategy that required perfect timing and coordination. At first, the other squad members did not want to listen to the small human. But after their direct attacks failed again and again, They decided to try Maya's plan. The mission was a complete success. Maya's strategy worked perfectly, and they captured the position without losing a single squad member. Even the instructors seemed impressed, though they tried not to show it. General Kethvar watched from the observation deck as Maya's squad celebrated their victory. For the first time since she had arrived, he was not laughing at the human recruit. Instead, he was thinking. That night, Maya sat in her room looking out at the stars. She had survived her first week at the academy. The other cadets were starting to treat her with something that might have been respect. But she knew the real test was still coming. She had heard rumors about the final combat trials. Every cadet would have to fight a superior officer in single combat. It was the ultimate test of everything they had learned. Maya did not know who she would face, but she suspected it would not be easy. As she prepared for bed, Maya thought about her training back on Earth. Her instructors had always told her that the best warriors were not the strongest or fastest. They were the ones who could adapt, who could think, who could find a way to win no matter what the odds. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Maya was ready for them. 3 weeks had passed since Maya arrived at the academy. The other cadets no longer laughed at her openly, though she still heard whispers when they thought she was not listening. Her success in the tactical simulations had earned her a grudging respect from some of her classmates, but many still saw her as a curiosity, rather than a real warrior. Maya had learned to work with her mixed-species squad. There was Zek, a Zephyrian who moved like lightning but struggled with complex planning. Corvain was an Archeon whose crystal body could absorb enormous damage but who thought very slowly. Thurak, a Kelthari, had excellent hunting instincts but preferred to work alone. Together, they had become one of the top-performing squads in their class. Maya's ability to create strategies that used each member's strengths had made them nearly unbeatable in training exercises. Even the instructors had started paying attention to their methods. But General Kethvar remained unconvinced. Maya often caught him watching her during training, his forearms crossed and his expression thoughtful. She could not tell if he was impressed or simply waiting for her to fail. The answer came on a cold morning when all the cadets were called to assembly in the main hall. General Kethvar stood on the platform, flanked by the academy's senior instructors. His face was serious as he looked out over the gathered students. "Today marks an important milestone in your training," the general announced. "You have completed the basic course of study. Now comes the final test that will determine who among you has what it takes to become a galactic defender." A murmur ran through the crowd. Everyone knew this moment was coming, but hearing it officially made it real. "The trial of combat," General Kethvar continued. "Each of you will face a superior officer in single combat. This is not a training exercise. This is a real test of your skills, your courage, and your determination. Some of you will prove yourselves worthy. Others will discover that they do not belong here." The general gestured to a large display screen that showed a list of names. "Your opponents have been assigned. The trials will take place over the next 3 days in the main combat arena. The academy will be open to all who wish to observe." Maya found her name on the list and felt her heart skip a beat. Next to her name was written, General Kethvar. Around her, other cadets were checking their assignments. Most would fight against captains or majors. A few unlucky ones had drawn colonels, but Maya was the only one assigned to face a general. "This is not fair," Zek whispered, his insect-like features showing concern. "You should be fighting someone of lower rank." "The assignments are final," General Kethvar said, as if he had heard the whispered complaint. His eyes found Maya in the crowd. "I will personally oversee the trial of our human recruit. It will be educational for all involved." The general's smile was not pleasant. Maya realized that this was not a random assignment. He had specifically chosen to fight her himself. This was going to be more than a test. It was going to be a demonstration. That afternoon, Maya visited the Academy's archives to research General Kethvar's fighting record. What she found was not encouraging. He had been a champion warrior before becoming an administrator. In over 200 recorded fights, he had never lost. His four-armed fighting style was considered one of the most deadly combat forms in the galaxy. Maya watched videos of his past battles. The general was incredibly fast for someone so large. His forearms let him attack and defend at the same time, creating combinations that seemed impossible to counter. Most of his fights ended quickly, with his opponents overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of his attacks. But Maya also noticed something else. General Kethavar was proud, perhaps too proud. He liked to show off, to make his victories look easy. In several fights, he had toyed with weaker opponents instead of finishing them quickly. This pride might be something she could use. The next 2 days passed quickly. Maya watched as other cadets faced their trials. Most did well, showing the skills they had learned during their training. A few were defeated badly and would be leaving the academy in shame, but all of them faced opponents who were challenging but beatable. Maya's trial was scheduled for the final day, in the largest arena. Word had spread throughout the station that a human would be fighting General Kethavar. Aliens from across the galaxy were coming to watch what many saw as an inevitable massacre. The night before her fight, Maya could not sleep. She lay in her bed, staring at the ceiling and thinking about everything she had learned. Her martial arts training on Earth seemed very far away now. She thought about her instructors, who had taught her that every opponent had weaknesses, no matter how strong. They seemed. Maya got up and went to the academy's training room. It was empty at this late hour, which was what she wanted. She needed to practice to prepare her mind as much as her body for what was coming. She worked through her forms, the precise movements that had been drilled into her for years. Punch, block, kick, throw. Each motion had to be perfect. Against an opponent like General Kethavar, she would only get one chance. As she trained, Maya thought about what the general had said on her first day. He believed that strength was everything, that humans were weak because they lacked the physical power of other species. But Maya had learned something different. True strength was not about how hard you could hit. It was about knowing when to hit, where to hit, and how to make every movement count. It was about using your opponent's strength against them. It was about never giving up, even when the odds seemed impossible. Maya finished her practice and returned to her room. Tomorrow, she would face the biggest challenge of her life. She would be fighting for more than just her place at the academy. She would be fighting for the respect of her species, for the right of humans to stand as equals among the stars. The general thought he would be giving a lesson about the natural order of things. Maya intended to teach a lesson of her own. She finally fell asleep as the station's artificial dawn began to brighten her window. In a few hours, the entire galaxy would be watching. Maya Torres, the small human who everyone said did not belong, would face the mighty General Kethavar in combat. The general expected an easy victory. He expected to prove that humans were weak, that they had no place among real warriors. He expected to crush Maya's dreams and send her home in defeat. Maya had other plans. She dreamed of Earth, of the small gym where she had first learned to fight. Her old instructor had told her something she had never forgotten. Size matters, Maya, but heart matters more, and a warrior's heart can make up for a lot of size. Tomorrow she would find out if he was right. The main combat arena had never seen so many spectators. Beings from across the galaxy filled every seat, drawn by news of the unusual fight. The arena floor was a perfect circle 50 feet across, surrounded by energy barriers that would contain the battle but allow clear viewing. Maya walked through the preparation chambers beneath the arena. Her hands were steady as she wrapped them with the traditional cloth strips used in Earth's martial arts. She had requested this small piece of home and the academy had allowed it. Through the walls, she could hear the roar of the crowd above. News feeds from a dozen worlds were broadcasting the fight live. Some commentators were taking bets on how long the human would last. Most gave her less than 30 seconds. An aide appeared at her door. "It is time, Cadet Torres." Maya stood and walked toward the arena entrance. Her uniform was simple compared to the elaborate armor that many fighters wore. She had chosen flexibility over protection, knowing that her only chance was to stay mobile. The tunnel opened onto the arena floor, and Maya stepped into the light. The noise from the crowd was overwhelming. Thousands of aliens cheered, booed, and called out comments in languages she did not understand. Many were holding up signs with images of General HFY, their clear favorite. Maya walked to the center of the arena and waited. She tried to block out the noise and focus on what was coming. In a few minutes, she would face the most dangerous opponent of her life. The crowd noise suddenly changed, becoming louder and more excited. Maya looked toward the opposite entrance and saw General HFY emerging from his tunnel. He wore ceremonial armor that gleamed under the arena lights. His forearms were bare, showing the scars from countless battles. The general raised all four arms to acknowledge the crowd's cheers. He was clearly enjoying the attention, basking in the adoration of his fans. When he reached the center of the arena, he looked down at Maya with something that might have been pity. "Last chance to withdraw, human," he said quietly, so only she could hear. "I do not wish to hurt you, but I will not hold back if you insist on this foolishness." "I am not withdrawing," Maya replied. "I came here to fight." General HFY shrugged his massive shoulders. "So be it." The arena's announcer, a Zephyrian with a voice that carried clearly over the crowd, began the formal introduction. "Citizens of the galaxy, welcome to the final trial of combat. In the challenger's corner, representing the planet Earth, Cadet Maya Torres." A few scattered cheers arose from the crowd, mostly from her squad mates and a handful of humans who worked on the station, but they were drowned out by the much larger sounds of indifference or mockery. In the champion's corner, hero of the Vraxian Wars, undefeated in over 200 battles, General HFY, the crowd erupted. It seemed like every alien in the arena was on their feet, screaming support for the general. The sound was so loud that Maya felt it in her chest like a physical force. "Combatants, you may choose your preferred fighting format," the announcer continued. "What say you, General?" "I am comfortable with any format the human chooses," General HFY said, his voice amplified across the arena. "Though I suggest she pick something that might give her a small chance of survival." The crowd laughed at this comment. Maya stepped forward to the announcement platform. "I choose unarmed combat in Earth's traditional martial arts format," she said. "No weapons, no armor, no special equipment, just skill against skill." The laughter from the crowd grew louder. Many aliens seemed to think this was a joke. Even some of the human spectators looked worried. Maya was giving up any possible advantage that weapons or protective gear might provide. General HFY's smile grew wider. "Traditional martial arts? How delightfully primitive. Very well, human. We shall fight as your ancestors did, with nothing but our natural abilities." The general began removing his ceremonial armor, revealing the full extent of his physical power. His forearms were each as thick as Maya's entire torso. Scars covered his gray skin like a map of old battles. When he flexed, muscles moved under, his skin like cables made of steel. "Combat will continue until one fighter yields or is unable to continue," the announcer said. "Fighters, take your positions." Maya and General HFY moved to opposite sides of a circle marked on the arena floor. The general bounced lightly on his feet, all forearms moving in a complex warm-up pattern. Maya stood still, her breathing deep and controlled. "Begin." The announcer shouted. General HFY immediately moved forward, but not at full speed. He was playing to the crowd, showing off his superior reach and power. Two of his arms stayed behind his back while the other two gestured mockingly at Maya. "Come, little human," he called out. "Show me these traditional martial arts of yours." Maya circled slowly, staying just outside his reach. She was studying his movement patterns, looking for the weaknesses that every fighter had. Even the most skilled opponent had habits, preferences, and blind spots. The general took a casual swing at her with one arm, not really trying to connect. Maya ducked easily under the blow, which brought a few boos from the crowd. They wanted to see action, not this careful dancing around. "Stop running and fight," someone yelled from the stands. General HFY seemed to agree. He brought his other two arms into play, launching a series of strikes that forced Maya to move quickly to avoid them. His four-armed style was indeed impressive, creating a whirlwind of attacks that seemed to come from every direction. But Maya noticed something important. The general's attacks were powerful but predictable. His pride made him want to show off, to demonstrate his superiority rather than simply win quickly. He was using complex combinations when simple ones would work better. Maya continued to dodge and weave, letting the general chase her around the arena. The crowd was getting restless, and she could hear complaints about the boring fight. But Maya was not trying to entertain them. She was learning. After several minutes of this, General Kethavar's patience began to wear thin. His strikes became harder and faster, driven by frustration rather than technique. Maya could see that he was getting tired, though he was trying to hide it. The general's species was built for quick, decisive battles. Their massive strength came at the cost of endurance. Maya's human physiology, designed for long-distance running and sustained effort, was giving her an advantage she had not expected. "Enough of this," General Kethavar roared. "Stand and fight, like a warrior." He launched himself forward in a powerful rush, all four arms extended in a devastating attack that would have crushed Maya if it had connected. But Maya was no longer where the attack was aimed. She had slipped to the side at the last moment, using the general's momentum against him. As he stumbled past her, off balance from his overeager assault, Maya saw her opening. The throw was perfect, using every principle her Earth instructors had taught her. She grabbed the general's leading arm, planted her hip against his body, and used his own forward motion to send him flying through the air. General Kethavar hit the arena floor with a crash that shook the entire building. The crowd fell silent, too shocked to make a sound. The mighty general, undefeated in over 200 fights, was lying on his back with a dazed expression on his face. Maya stood over him, breathing hard but ready to continue if necessary. But General Kethavar was not getting up. The impact had stunned him completely, and he lay motionless on the arena floor. "Winner, by knockout, Cadet Maya Torres," the announcer finally managed to say. The arena erupted in chaos. Some aliens cheered in amazement while others sat in stunned silence. Maya had done the impossible. The small human had defeated the greatest warrior in the galaxy with a single move. Maya walked over to where General Kethavar was slowly sitting up, shaking his head to clear it. She extended her hand to help him to his feet. The general looked at her hand for a moment, then took it. As Maya helped him stand, he looked down at her with a new expression. The mockery and arrogance were gone, replaced by something that might have been respect. "How?" he asked quietly. "You were stronger and faster," Maya said. "But you forgot that battles are not won by the biggest fighter. They are won by the smartest one." General Kethavar nodded slowly, understanding dawning in his eyes. Around them, the crowd continued to cheer and argue about what they had just witnessed. But Maya only cared about one thing. She had proven that humans belonged among the stars. And she had done it not with superior strength or speed, but with the qualities that made her species unique: adaptability, intelligence, and the refusal to give up when the odds seemed impossible. The fight was over, but Maya's real journey was just beginning. The medical bay was quiet except for the soft hum of alien healing technology. General Kethavar sat on an examination table, while a Zephyrian doctor checked his eyes with a small light. The general had refused any major treatment, claiming that his pride was hurt worse than his body. Maya waited in the hallway outside, still wearing her training clothes from the fight. Through the medical bay's windows, she could see other cadets gathering in small groups, all talking excitedly about what they had witnessed. The news was spreading quickly throughout the station. "He will be fine," the doctor said as he emerged from the examination room. "Vraxians have thick skulls, though I suspect his ego took more damage than his head." A few minutes later, General Kethavar walked out of the medical bay. He moved slowly, but his back was straight, and his expression was thoughtful rather than angry. When he saw Maya waiting for him, he stopped. "Walk with me, Cadet Torres," he said. They walked through the academy's corridors in silence. Maya was not sure what to expect. Would the general be angry about his defeat? Would he try to find some way to punish her for embarrassing him in front of the entire galaxy? General Kethavar led her to his office, a large room filled with awards and trophies from his long military career. He gestured for Maya to sit in a chair across from his desk, then poured himself a glass of water from a pitcher. "I owe you an apology," he said finally. Maya blinked in surprise. This was not what she had expected to hear. I have spent my entire career believing that physical strength was the most important quality in a warrior, the general continued. When you arrived here, I saw only your size and assumed you were weak. I was wrong. The general set down his glass and looked directly at Maya. What you did in that arena was not luck. It was skill. It was intelligence. It was the kind of tactical thinking that wins wars, not just battles. Thank you, sir, Maya said. Do not thank me yet, General Kethvar replied. I have a proposition. For you. Your performance in training has been exceptional, not just in combat but in leadership and strategy. Your graduation scores are among the highest in Academy history. Maya waited for him to continue. I am offering you a position as a combat instructor here at the Academy. You would be the first human to hold such a rank and the youngest instructor in our history. Your job would be to teach other species what you have taught me today. Maya felt her heart racing. This was beyond anything she had hoped for when she first arrived at the Academy. What exactly would I be teaching? She asked. That there are many different kinds of strength, the general said. That the largest warrior is not always the most dangerous one. That victory comes to those who can adapt and think, not just to those who can hit the hardest. Over the next few days, word of Maya's victory spread throughout the galactic community. News reports showed footage of the fight, with commentators struggling to explain how such a small being had defeated one of the galaxy's greatest warriors. The reaction was mixed. Some alien leaders were impressed by the demonstration of human capabilities. They began to view Earth's military potential in a new light. Other species were skeptical, claiming that the fight had been a fluke or that General Kethvar had not been trying his best. But among the younger generation of aliens, especially those at military academies across the galaxy, Maya became something of a hero. Her story inspired cadets who had been told they were too small, too weak, or too different to succeed. Requests began arriving at the Galactic Defense Academy. Other academies wanted to exchange students and learn about human training methods. Several alien governments asked if Earth could send military advisors to help train their forces. Maya, quote, S first class as an instructor consisted of 12 students from 6 different species. They were all volunteers, curious about what the small human could teach them that their previous instructors had not. Combat is not about overpowering your opponent, Maya told them on the first day. It is about understanding your opponent. Every species, every individual, has strengths and weaknesses. Your job is to figure out how to use your strengths against their weaknesses. She demonstrated basic techniques from Earth's martial arts, showing how leverage and timing could overcome raw power. The alien students were fascinated by concepts that seemed obvious to Maya, but were completely new to them. Zek Kama, who had been her squadmate during training, was among the students. I always thought fighting was about being faster than the other person, he said after a lesson on defensive techniques. But you are teaching us to use their speed against them. Speed is good, Maya agreed. But control is better. If you can control when and where the fight happens, you can win even against someone much faster than you. The classes were a success. Students who had struggled with traditional combat training began to excel using Maya's methods. Word spread, and more. Aliens requested to join her program. But Maya's most important student was General Kethvar himself. The general had begun attending her classes, sitting in the back and taking notes like any other cadet. At first, this made the other students nervous, but they soon realized that the general was there to learn, not to judge. I have been fighting for 30 years, he told Maya after one lesson. But today you showed me 3 techniques I had never seen before. How is this possible? Because you were only learning from other Vraxians, Maya replied. They all fight the same way because they all have the same strengths. But humans developed our fighting styles by facing many different enemies with many different advantages. The general nodded thoughtfully. Diversity breeds innovation. Exactly. As the months passed, Maya's influence began to reshape how the Academy approached combat training. Traditional methods that relied on species-specific advantages were supplemented, with more flexible techniques that could be adapted to any situation. The changes were not always popular. Some instructors complained that the old ways had worked fine for centuries. A few alien purists argued that mixing human techniques with their traditional methods would weaken their warriors. But the results spoke for themselves. Graduates trained in Maya's methods performed better in real combat situations. They were more adaptable, more creative, and more effective when facing unexpected challenges. Maya stood in her new office, looking out at the training grounds where her students were practicing. A mixed group of Vraxians, Zephyrians, Archeons, and other species worked together, learning from each other in ways that would have been unthinkable just a year ago. General Kethvar appeared in her doorway. "The Galactic Council has approved your promotion," he said, holding up an official document. "Congratulations, Commander Torres." Maya took the promotion papers with hands that shook slightly. From recruit to commander in less than 2 years. It was an unprecedented rise through the ranks. "There is more," the general continued. "The Council has also approved the establishment of the Integrated Combat Academy. You will be in charge of developing a new training program that combines the best techniques from all member species." Maya looked at the document again. At the bottom was a list of the alien governments that had requested human military advisors. It included nearly every major power in the galaxy. "They want to learn from us," she said, still hardly believing it. "They want to learn from you," General Kethvar corrected. "You have shown them that there is more than one way to be strong. That is a lesson the galaxy needed to hear." That evening, Maya video called her family on Earth. Her parents listened, in amazement as she described her new position and the changes happening at the academy. "I always knew you were special," her mother said, tears in her eyes. "But I never imagined you would change how an entire galaxy thinks about fighting." "I did not change anything," Maya replied. "I just showed them what humans have always known. That the biggest person in the room is not always the strongest. That thinking beats muscle every time. That anyone can be a warrior if they have the heart for it." After the call ended, Maya walked back to the training grounds. A group of late-night students were still practicing, working through the techniques she had taught them earlier. They came from a dozen different worlds, but they moved together with perfect coordination. Maya thought about her first day at the academy, when General Kethvar had asked what humans brought to the galaxy. She had said they adapted, they learned, and they found ways to win. But now she realized that humans brought something even more important. They brought the idea that being different was not a weakness, that diversity made everyone stronger, that the galaxy was big enough for all kinds of warriors. The general had been right about one thing on that first day. Only the strong survived in the dangerous galaxy. But Maya had redefined what it meant to be strong. And across the stars, a new generation of warriors was learning that strength came in many forms. Some were born with it. Others earned it through training and dedication. But the strongest of all were those who learned from everyone around them, taking the best from every species and every tradition. Maya Torres had come to the academy as an underestimated recruit from a small unknown planet. She was leaving as a commander whose methods would reshape galactic military training for generations to come. The human had indeed silenced the alien general with one strike. But her